because it's not Bruce Jenner, it's Caitlyn, and she's a stunning woman.
Yep. That didn't stop. Like, that was just the beginning, man. Now J.K. Rowling is on the chopping block because she says women exist. So all parody is essentially just prophecy.
It's not why. Oh, I grow so tired. I grow so tired of all these people. That's not why. No, there's not a single trans person who's saying that cis women don't exist. In fact, they're very, very quick to be able to explain the fact that cis women exist because they are trans. That's what makes them trans. So they acknowledge cis women, and they also acknowledge that they are trans women. It's not about the erasure of woman.
Well, folks, South Park has been on the air since 1997, and there are a lot of times that South Park has been way ahead of politics because, honestly, everything that South Park parodies eventually becomes reality. We're going to go through some of their greatest hits in just a second. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN.
All right, that does it! I'm sick of this and I'm not taking it any longer! You all push me to this!
Oh, I love that we're starting with this one. Oh, I'm so ready. I'm so ready, Ben.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm going to the potty.
This is the girls' bathroom.
All right, I need to tell you something, Wendy. I'm transgender.
I'm sorry, but like, this was planned, right? Like, I want you to zoom in on my phone as I look up the article at the same time.
What?
Did you notice the bow? I'm not comfortable with the sex I was assigned at birth, so I'm exercising my right to identify with the gender of my choice. Now get out of my way, I have to take a
This is 2014. Cartman, the Leah Thomas of South Park.
Get out of here!
Don't give me more issues than I already have, Wendy.
Yep, the girls are not victims. The girls are actually the oppressors. So yeah, this was well ahead of its time. 2014. It wasn't
I can't wait to talk about this. Oh, I got some thoughts, Ben.
actually that far before the Obama administration really started pushing this stuff full scale and telling public schools they had to do this sort of thing. Remember that
Amazing.
all of this was meant as parody of the left, and then it just became like the left normally.
Oh, so we're moving on. Okay, so I can go back and I can fill in some things. If you didn't know, if you don't watch South Park, I've watched quite a bit of South Park in my day. You know, I was a young teenage cis boy back in the day, so I watched my South Parks, and I will tell you this. Cartman's not a good person. Cartman is not the arbiter of what people should do. Cartman is a neo-Nazi fascist who actually tries to do the final solution a second time in his own town. He has fed other members of his town their parents in the form of chili. He's a bad guy. The things that Cartman does in South Park is the outrageous thing that they're going to look at like, ooh, wow, this is an example of someone taking advantage of a situation when they probably shouldn't. This doesn't mean, by the way, and I'm not saying that the South Park guys are progressives, they're libertarians. They're libertarian centrists, and you will find that they piss off both people on the left and the right because they're consistently going in one direction or another in terms of their values and beliefs. And so I'm not saying that they are any way progressive. In fact, they've had a lot of transphobic episodes. There's the dolphin episode is a really good one that comes to mind, and there's just basically Mr. Garrison's entire transformation. They did teach a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers, these terms. I think I learned the terms cis and trans for the first time when I was a teenager from South Park, which is pretty wild. But all that being said, this was making the rounds on the right as some kind of incredible gotcha, and they're like, oh my god, South Park just eviscerated the entire trans debate. And then right away I was like, this is not new, this is from 2014. He's the bad guy. No, really? How much South Park have you watched? Have you not seen the episodes where Cartman straight up becomes like Hitler? Because those episodes are out there, and there's a very end, like when the Passion of the Christ comes out, that episode where he basically has all these dreams and he has flashbacks because the Passion of the Christ turns him into full-blooded Nazi, and then he actually like starts to get the town to try and go against the Jews. Like that's a whole arc. These are stories. So honestly, watching Cartman and being like, oh, I can't believe it. Look, what an amazing fucking parody.
Before.
Say, Tom, do you have any pudding left?
I ate all mine up, silly.
Well, then, now what do we do?
Sorry.
Well, why don't we just explore our sexuality?
Oh, good idea. Let's.
Or the most egregious, when he ate all the skin off an entire bucket of fried chicken. Could you imagine? When I saw that, you know, as someone who wasn't allowed to have like KFC when I was a kid, my parents were like, oh, it's just not good for you. We're not buying KFC. And so the few times you had it, it was like, you know, eating crack cocaine, I imagine, like whatever the equivalent of food version of crack cocaine is, that's what it felt like. If I had come down to realize that one of my buddies had eaten all the skin, oh man, oh, I would have fucking lost it. Holy shit.
Oh no.
Aw, dude, I shouldn't be seeing this.
Is there a problem, young man?
Yeah, so that was just a couple of years before Brokeback Mountain, which was effectively about gay cowboys eating pudding. So well done, South Park.
Mom, Dad,
Ruben, yo, Ruben, have you seen this one? Hey, Ben, wait, why do you think that two men having sex makes you vomit? You don't vomit, do you, Ben? When you think of me? When you think of me, do you vomit?
what's a sex change operation?
What? Nothing. I'll explain
This
it
is
to
the
you when you're a little
dolphinoplasty
older.
one.
But our teacher, Mr. Garrison, he just had his penis made into a vagina. How come? Penis!
Your teacher had a sex change? Oh my god.
Vagina!
Kyle, you have to cheer up, dude. So you aren't built right for basketball.
But I feel like a basketball player. It's all I want to do.
Hello, boys. It's me, your teacher, Mrs. Garrison.
You guys, Mr. Garrison has titties.
Oh, South Park. How ahead of the game you were. 2005. Well, you're not allowed to make those jokes anymore. Obviously, the joke is...
Thank you for the joke. Explain it to us, Ben. I wonder what it's like for Matt Stone and Trey Parker now to like fast forward to the future and see the people who are like loving specific episodes. Like they're obviously really picking and choosing the ones they want to criticize, because I wouldn't use South Park as an example of like, hey, here's what South Park really reflects leftist values, because hey, look at this one specific episode where this really comes at this perspective. Hey, they're really calling out the anti-Semitism of Mel Gibson. This is because they are actually they want to go against anti-Semitism. This is a really progressive episode. South Park is really fighting the leftists. I would never do that, because anyone who watches and knows a lot about South Park or has seen enough episodes know there's episodes that are incredibly transphobic, or there's episodes that are incredibly anti-workers' rights. They started changing quite a bit, by the way. In their last couple of years, they obviously had this huge arc where it's like, well, we were totally wrong on climate change. We were also totally wrong on labor and worker power and Amazon and how it treats people. So we're going to go in better directions in that category. And I'm sure Ben Shapiro probably would not like those episodes. But then there's the ones where they make fun of Prince Harry, and then that's enough. And it's just like, yeah, fuck the Royals, fuck the Canadians. This is great.
that
Yeah,
that
Man
Kyle
Bear
wants
Pig.
to be a basketball player, but he's not good at it, but he still feels like a basketball player. And Mr. Garrison wants to be Mrs. Garrison, but is still Mr. Garrison. Yeah, I can't make those jokes anymore. I mean, South Park can. They still do.
Hannah Montana's Miley Cyrus, though only 15 years old, is already on her way to being a major superstar. Looks
Oh,
like
thanks,
next
Jordan Millie.
harvest will be even better.
So that whole episode is about Britney Spears being completely destroyed as a human being because she was a young celebrity who was then sexualized.
She's totally lip syncing.
She doesn't have any lips.
That's no, Ben, what? It wasn't just because people hypersexualize young pop stars, which they do, and it did play an element. It was the non-stop desire to see a celebrity suffer, our TMZ culture. That was the target of that episode. It's incredibly clear if you watch the whole thing. They are literally sacrificing celebrities for the good of the harvest. That's the entire point. By the very end, it's like, well, we're doing it for the harvest, son. It's going to be totally fine. Yeah, and that was such a striking thing of what was going on around that time related to Britney Spears. And I think like in that case, this one is a little bit more progressive because yeah, there was an obsession with how much can we promote stories about her melting down. Britney Spears shaves her head. Britney Spears shows her pussy. Britney Spears went out to fight someone who took a picture of her showing her pussy. Britney Spears went like, and every day it'd be like more. And then like, oh, Britney Spears is on drugs. So Britney Spears is a bad mom. Britney Spears is this. Britney Spears is that. That's what the episode's about.
And so there they are, talking about how that was going to happen to Miley Cyrus. Okay, I have to say, easy call. I wrote a book in 2005 called Porn Generation, in which I actively discussed the reality, which is that every single major female Disney star was going to be adulted. So, you know, yes, they get credit for it, but then again, so do I. We'll get to
How does Ben deal with the episodes of South Park that are so hypersexual, you know? With like characters straight up shoving each other in their asses and doing strip, like, does he skip over those ones? Is this like, oh, okay, this isn't a, you know, degenerate or hypersexualized. This is parodying people who are that, so it's okay. So in one case, if you show it and people watch it and it's a parody, that's not degenerate. But if you're doing it because you enjoy it, that's degenerate. That's the difference.
Spokesman for Subway, do you?
Did you just use a term that excludes women from an occupation?
Okay, let's back up. Ah!
Did you just
By the way, this was not them predicting the future. This was them reflecting the present. This was them, the PC principle, and them talking about all this kind of shit. This was because this was at a time when, yes, a large part of the social discourse was around the use of new terms and normalizing them, broadly speaking, within society, and teaching a lot of new people to the concepts of, hey, there are things like trans and cis. We should differentiate between that, what is gay, what is straight. There's new information on this that's coming out. This is just, broadly speaking, now starting to get more into the general public. This is not like, well, they really predicted what would happen, 10 years from now.
Say spokesman instead of spokesperson when women are just as capable of selling sandwiches as anyone. Are you perfect?
See, this is why I find it so weird that like right-wingers will fix themselves to things like South Park when it's like, are you just watching 25% of the episodes? Like, what about the other? There's a lot of them that are hypercritical of shit that y'all do all the time. All the time.
Personally trying to use words that assert your male privilege.
No, I'm sorry. I was just trying to frame you for raping Butters.
And then we get to a PC principal who definitely signifies the left. Again, he would be the president of the United States now, PC principal. Actually, he's basically just Andrew Cuomo. The real prophecy would have been if he had become governor of New York, killed all of the old people, and then been ousted for sexual harassment.
I thought you were gonna make a joke there. You're just literally ascribing Cuomo. It's like, okay.
Animated Snooki.
So Ben actually likes this shit. He likes a little bit of the wild and crazy. If it's an animated form and it's a parody of something, like that's when he's into some much to say more blue material, a little after school special, that kind of stuff. Just look at how the right loves George Carlin. That is such a perfect example. Ducky0987, you're so right. Yeah, every single time I see a right winger being like, he's ours, we claim him. Like, sure, claim them away, enjoy. Do you want to play all his specials? Do you want to listen to his discussions on religion, on conservatism, on abortion, on drugs? Like, play any of those. Play plenty of those routines. I promise you, you're probably not going to love them.
It's Al-Qaeda!
They're trying to fight against New Jersey.
Our country's getting back to normal, and we owe it all to Osama bin Laden. On this day, let us all remember that no people on this earth are really enemies, only folks with differences.
Tango's down, tango's down.
I don't get how that's predictive.
Yeah, that is in fact what happened to Osama bin Laden. So, they called that one.
Hi, I'm Gerald, Kyle Broflovsky's father.
No, it's not. Are you just saying the fact that the Americans eventually killed Osama bin Laden? Yes, that part happened. It happened in Pakistan. It was not part of some massive sting operation where he was brought over to America to receive a prize and they tricked him.
Have a seat. I've been talking with your child and we're going to be giving him 2 weeks detention.
What's this about, Kyle?
Your son said some things to a 4th grade girl that frankly make me want to puke. Now that I'm principal, I'm not going to allow anyone at the school to be made feel unsafe and harassed.
What did he say?
You'll have to excuse my language. I don't think Caitlyn Jenner is a hero.
Yeah. I'm just going to point out here that for this exact thing, I was manhandled on national television. Literally, a dude put his hand on the back of my neck and threatened to send me home in an ambulance for saying that exact thing, that Caitlyn Jenner is not a hero.
Back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now.
That's not why. It was because you were intentionally, purposefully, and multiple times misgendering her. You did it over and over and over, and she asked you very nicely multiple times not to do it. And you just continue. It's like, I'm sorry, I will never call a she he or he a she. I'm just never going to do that. It's not biologically possible. It's factually and grammatically incorrect. I'm sorry. I'm very brave and I'm going to do this. I'm going to misgender you and I'm going to dead name you because I'm sorry, you can't change your name and a he cannot become a she. Like, that's what was happening.
Or you'll go home in an ambulance.
So yeah, I feel you, South Park.
And again, this is like a slight misunderstanding and misinterpretation of what this episode is about. It's the concept that a person can be bad simultaneously while also being trans. And in the media, they were celebrated for being a hero insofar as they were publicly transitioning, something that is obviously difficult to do and difficult to do as a celebrity. That was part of it. And then, yes, it obviously moves and slants very far. Well, not super far right. That one's more center right. Because by the end of the episode, it's essentially that, like, you know, the kids have nothing against the fact that she's trans. That's also in the episode, by the way. The kids don't care at all that she's a trans woman. They just care about the fact that she murdered someone. And that's kind of the point of the episode. That they're more concerned about the fact that she murdered or helped or allegedly helps murder someone than they are about the whole trans thing. I guess technically would be killed if you hit someone with your car, but you were acquitted of it. That would be killed.
This kind of transphobic and bigoted hate speech isn't gonna fly here, bro! I thought we were all on board that Caitlyn Jenner is an amazing, beautiful woman who had the exquisite bravery of a butterfly flying against the wind. And then this comes out of people's mouths!
PC Principal, I'm sure Kyle was just referring to Bruce
Vehicle
Jenner as
manslaughter,
a
thank you.
person and not trying to say anything against...
You got a problem, bro?
No?
Because it's not Bruce Jenner, it's Caitlyn, and she's a stunning woman!
Yep. That didn't stop. Like, that was just the beginning, man. Now J.K. Rowling is on the chopping block because she says women exist. So all parody is essentially just prophecy.
It's not why. Oh, I grow so tired. I grow so tired of all these people. That's not why. No, there's not a single trans person who's saying that cis women don't exist. In fact, they're very, very quick to be able to explain the fact that cis women exist because they are trans. It's what makes them trans. So they acknowledge cis women, and they also acknowledge that they are trans women. It's not about the erasure of woman.
Now. And so South Park is good at parody, which means that they are effectively prophets.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
there
she's
you
also
are.
massive billionaire with huge gaming franchises still coming out. Came out this year. Like, yeah,
South Park,
Joanne's
which,
fine.
again, has said many transgressive things in the past. They were meant to be jokes at the time. But the thing is that over time, the jokes are no longer jokes. They just become the reality. And so we can't even tell them as jokes anymore. They just become...
Some of them were jokes for the time. So you showed episodes where it's like, South Park predicted it. I was like, predicted it? This is them criticizing what they thought to be PC culture of that era. Yeah. I guess we've just come a little bit of a ways from this, and now Ben's like, oh, can't do that anymore. Can't talk about that.
offensive things that you're saying because you're actually violating the precepts. This is what happens when you parody the left. Eventually, all of your parodies just become prophecies.
My review is that I don't think Ben faithfully watches South Park, has seen all the South Parks, and I'm getting a kind of a suspicion that at a certain point he kind of just checked out. Starting to feel that way. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.